Build creative confidence. Beat the inspiration addiction. Join the Writer's Gym. Andy Gould, my officer at Macmillan for how many years?
So for me, I've been here for 7 years now. So yeah, and I'm sure you had someone before that as well. So 7 years with me.
There were quite a few.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Well done. 7 years.
Lasted, of course. Yeah.
I haven't scared you off. We met 7 years ago, and I was already doing Greening sponsored write for Macmillan Cancer Support. And just to give people who might not know a little bit of an introduction, the sponsored write originally happened in memory of a friend of mine who died when we were 25 in 2007, and Macmillan Cancer Support was her chosen charity at her funeral. And I'd met her through youth theatre and also through Roehampton University, where we were students and where I now lecture. And she was my introduction to Macmillan and all the very different ways that Macmillan Cancer Support helps and how it does what it says on the tin. And so I wanted to do something in memory of her, and it started as theatre and it moved into new writing as I moved from theatre to writing. Yeah. And I think just what I fell in love with in this idea was that it's always been a bit of a struggle in that there's the part of your brain that starts going, what does this mean, rather than what, God damn it, is it? Yeah. And the but, I'd rather have her. Well, yes, of course, I'd rather have her, but that's not an option. And you either have the nasty thing happen, or you can have the nasty thing happen and learn something from it, do something on the basis of it. And I wanted to create something. And I think looking back on it, certainly one of the things that I adored about Sophie was how she did see people creatively. Yeah. She did see opportunities. She took people as she found them. And I think that probably when she said to me, when she got the news that cancer had come back and that time was limited, I remember her saying to me, you will have to deal with this in your way, and recognising that where you might get, and I did get from other people, oh, but you weren't her closest friend, or this, that and the other. And it's like, well, it's not about that. Everybody is unique. Yeah. And everybody's on their own journey. And I think as a writer, that is something important, that we're finding out what makes people tick, why we do the things we do, good and bad. And so for me, getting writers sponsored for their time and not their word count, that for me importantly reflects Macmillan Cancer Support's mission about quality of life for everyone affected by cancer. So that's what I've been raising money for, and that's what this year our title, which is always something to do with green, because Macmillan and because my favourite colour, but mainly because of Macmillan, Greening sponsored write. This year's title is Somewhere That's Green.
Yes,
and that's been chosen by Rhianna Pratchett.
Yes,
it's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah. It certainly gives you plenty of scope, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and that's what we want, is for it to reflect green and reflect quality of life.
Yes,
and you can take that anywhere, any genre, any subject matter, anything, and then that becomes an anthology which is delivered to our sponsors by email 48 hours after the writing day ends.
Wonderful. What a wonderful thing to see, isn't it?
It's a wonderful thing to see. I so enjoy being part of it, and I enjoy the community, and a lot of the guests on the podcast either have written for it or are going to write for it. So yes, it's all the things you want community to be. What about you and Macmillan Cancer Support?
Yeah, so I joined Macmillan in 2017 it was. I joined actually in the gift aid team, then moved into fundraising, which is where I met you, Rachel. And obviously been there ever since. My story came very much from relatives as I was growing up who'd had support from Macmillan, and seeing the iconic Macmillan nurses, if you like, which I'm sure is what everyone thinks about when they think of us as a charity. But, there's a reason, I guess, that people think about Macmillan nurses, which is that so many people have had a Macmillan nurse or had a family member who's had a Macmillan nurse, and the love and the care that they give to people both affected by cancer, but also who are in perhaps the latter stages, or in the opposite way or are recovering is something that I remember from growing up that I'd never experienced before, and I've never really seen since. So when I decided to move into the charity sector, Macmillan was definitely my charity of choice. And yeah, I've absolutely loved working here. It's been an amazing experience seeing the difference that Macmillan make to people's lives. And our strapline is, whoever you are, whatever it takes. And that's kind of what we try and do, which is that we're trying to basically reach everyone if we can. Now, obviously, that's such a difficult thing to do because it's scary that the cancer numbers at the moment, just rising and rising. There's 3.5 million people living with cancer in the UK at the moment. That'll probably rise to 4 million by 2030. So only 5 years time. 280,000 people alone in London. So last year we reached 2.5 million people, which is wonderful, incredible, through one form or another, whether it be through nurses, whether it be online, whether it be through our phone lines, that kind of thing. But that's still 1 million people short. And we want to try and make a difference to everyone. So that's kind of our big goal, if you like, for the years to come. Given that the numbers are increasing, we want to try and get to more people, and that's a hard thing to do. But it's meant that it means that we need to kind of focus our resources in perhaps a different way to the past, where we used to zone in perhaps on particular people who perhaps had always traditionally supported us, whether it be, Macmillan committees, kind of your archetypal Macmillan supporters. And we're trying to broaden our approach as much as we can, focus more on ethnically diverse communities, more deprived areas. We're focusing more on 20% more deprived areas because the cancer survival rates of people who live in the 20% most deprived parts of Britain are shockingly poor compared to the rest. So focusing, on that as well. People from the LGBTQIA plus community, we're really trying to focus in because they've traditionally been underrepresented when it comes to people who've contacted us. So we're trying to broaden our scope to basically reach everyone. That's kind of our
and get everybody to recognise that it is exactly what it says, that if you are affected by cancer, talk to us.
Yes, exactly. Because it's not just, like I say, the nurses are what people associate us with, and the amount of time you go to events, people say, oh, a cancer nurse, my cancer nurse was amazing, or a colleague's cancer nurse or a family member's cancer nurse was amazing. But it's not just the support you get there. We have our telephone line, which is incredible. The amount of support that people who I speak to say that they've received from our telephone line, just having a listening ear at the other end, someone to talk to, and whether it be to ask for information or often just to have a bit of a rant and say it to that person and say, I can't believe this is happening to me, and the other person at the other end, rather than saying that to a family member, the person at the other end is someone they don't know, and they can listen and help that person off their chest.
It's interesting you bring that up, because this is something that comes up for me in the Writers' Gym, in my wider coaching, and obviously a lot of Writers' Gym members are sponsored writers. It is astoundingly common for people to have grown up with a sense that it is somehow more noble to do the stiff upper lip, to push emotions out and away. And many clients will be able to recognise that somebody else opening up to their friend, opening up for coaching, where it is more objective driven, and we are working out what they want and what they need to learn about themselves and get used to about themselves so that they can make it happen. And so many people who come to me a long time after, telling me how great what I do is, and that somebody else they know would really benefit from it. But there's something very human in not realising you are invited to that party, or that party is for you. And I sort of feel like I'm hearing something similar when you talk about service users and the service users that could be.
Yeah, it's so true. You get, on both sides of that coin, you get people who are actually going through the cancer experience. You say, oh no, I wouldn't want to bother anyone. That's the thing you often hear. I wouldn't want to bother anyone. No, it's, I'm fine. I don't, I'm sure there's people more deserving than me. And you think, well, no, you're going through this as well. You are as deserving. And similarly, sort of on the flip side of that, plenty of people I speak to say, I've told my family members that they should be getting support and they should be looking after themselves, which we do often, but they forget about themselves as well. So you see that a lot. People trying to do the right thing, but actually they're not necessarily helping themselves. They've got to allow themselves the space and the freedom to actually say, I am struggling, I do need help. And I think that's changing a lot, though. I hope that's changing a lot as society changes. It feels, certainly in the time I've been here, that people are more open to seeking support, especially for something like our phone line. A Macmillan nurse is the support is there. And when you receive that Macmillan nurse, you have that support there. It's sort of right in front of you, if you like. But something like the support line takes you to almost say, right, I'm going to call this number. And a lot of people before perhaps didn't feel they could quite take that step. But I think that is changing, which is great. Yeah.
I realise there's probably a lot of examples of what I'm about to ask you, and I'm very much up for a lot of examples. When people don't think of calling the support line, what are the things you wish they knew were part of that support, or what support entails?
I think what people don't realise until they call is that it's not just a case of calling the support line to say, this is my particular cancer, what can I do to improve my situation? It's not just, there is that. We have amazing doctors, nurses on the support line who will provide medical advice, but we also have advice on benefits. We also have advice on physical activity, exercises, things you can do to support around your cancer experience. We have advice on the emotional side of things, directing people towards a more emotional support. So actually the medical advice is there, but it's only one part of really kind of four main features. The kind of the financial advice, physical advice, emotional advice is all tied in there as well.
Basically, could you break those down a little bit?
No, of course, yeah.
In any order at all? Physical or financial?
Yeah, so financial support. So previously we had Macmillan grants, as part of which were basically small, specific amounts of money that essentially people could apply for, as part of our aim to broaden our reach. Because the problem with the Macmillan grants was that, of course, only certain people, there's only a limited pot, if you like. So only a certain number of people could access those grants. And you're then missing people who weren't able to access them. So now, because of wanting to extend our reach, basically, we've now got a situation where instead of Macmillan grants, we're doing more directing of people towards financial awards that they're allowed through the government, but also we're improving our benefits advice line, if you like, so that we can say to people, okay, this is what you're entitled to. So instead of sort of giving you a £200 grant and saying, there you go, there's £200, bye, which is perhaps the case that might have happened in the past. We're saying, right, now if we spend an hour with you, filling out a load of forms for you, these will ensure that you can then access that money on an ongoing basis. So people who don't even realise that they're entitled to support. So people who don't even realise, for example, that cancer is a protected disability under the Disability Discrimination Act. So you're allowed to access so many things through that as well. So there's so many different avenues that people aren't even aware of from a financial side that can help, that make their life so much easier.
Brilliant. And physical?
Yeah, so we offer, so we have Macmillan physiotherapists, which people can access through their Macmillan nurse or through their GP. We also have things like, for example, classes that we offer in different areas. So people through their local hospital can find a Macmillan class, for example, Zumba or Pilates or something like that in a particular area. So they're kind of the main things from a physical side. But of course, the good beauty of Macmillan nurses is that they are also trained in helping people from the physical side. So when someone has a Macmillan nurse, they can provide them with support on exercises and things that they can be doing to improve their general health.
And it's just that massive importance of connection, isn't it?
Yeah.
The things we were talking about at the beginning about why I felt bringing creativity into it is part of what Macmillan is doing is you're showing people how they can connect, they can create circumstances that mean that they are getting more community, that they are getting more useful help, that people are going to listen and have information that maybe they don't have. And I think that's the one that really sort of keeps speaking to me, is that if we don't reach out to other people, if we do try and do it on our own, then the implicit assumption is that there is no information we don't have. There is no other way this could be doing. And, you know, there's the world gets better when you connect.
Yeah, exactly. And when you meet people with similar experiences to yours, that's another sort of advantage of our online community, because the online community is huge. There are hundreds of thousands of people who use our online community, and that's kind of a great one, because sometimes people might not want to talk, and sometimes people might not be able to talk because, you know, it might be the middle of the night and they wake up and you know, that horrible kind of 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. period where people wake up and the night seems to be going very slowly, and they're lying staring up at the ceiling, and the thoughts that you're hoping during the day you can banish start to come into your head. And the beauty of the online community is there's always someone else awake at that time, and you can get straight on there and basically just find a friend, I guess. And then, of course, we have emotional aspect, of course. So we have firstly, our call handlers on the support line are extremely highly trained in speaking to people and having that emotional intelligence. So they, as the sort of, it almost feels unfair to call them the gatekeepers, because they do so much more than that. They're the first voice that someone will speak to when they call. And they are well trained in speaking to people, hearing people with all different issues, but also all different approaches to the call, whether it be someone who is really positive, whether it be someone who is really at their wits' end, but also, from the emotional side, they can then signpost to a variety of kind of medical support if people are really struggling as well, which we do offer as well. It's quite a broad brush, really.
And the fundamental thing is, don't feel like you even need to know what kind of help you need in order to open a conversation.
Yeah, and they are so well trained in saying, okay, I've heard you kind of unload, if you like, for 5 to 10 minutes, however long it is. This is who I'm going to signpost you to. This is who is going to help you. And it makes such a difference. And the beauty of it is that it's so wonderful, because I've spoken to people on the support line for various things, and they never make you feel as though they're waiting to take the next call. It's so wonderful. They let you take the call at your own pace. If you're on for an hour, doesn't matter. There's no kind of number of calls that they need to speak to, the number of people they need to speak to a day. If you need an hour to talk to them, they'll talk to you for an hour. It's a really amazing service.
It's always so lovely to hear that the awareness that talking is a gate that opens, that show up and say where you really are, and don't feel like you need to know what the result's going to be. Open the conversation. Now seems like a very good time, Andy, to say some of these links, and I'll start with the sponsored right page so that people can go straight to that. And what this does is it means that 48 hours after we write this beautiful thing on Saturday the 18th of October 2025, you get the anthology Somewhere That's Green, title selected by Rhianna Pratchett, and gorgeous cover image by Elspeth Hannon, who is a member of the Writers' Gym. You'll get to read the material that is created that day, 2 days after it's written, because we write on the Saturday, we edit on the Sunday. And then the lovely Steve Shaw at White Space Design and Black Shack Books, he sends that to everybody who has sponsored us and given us their email address, please, so that we can send it to you through the sponsorship page. And the sponsorship page that you need to go to this year is, as always, justgiving.com/page/ somewhere that's green. justgiving.com/page/ somewhere that's green. Andy, would you talk us through where to start, where to go to if people want to contact Macmillan?
So yes, basically from the point of view of if you require support, we've talked about the support line. If the support line isn't for you, we've talked about the online community. If you're in a situation where you yourself are affected by cancer and you need the medical support, of course, your GP will hopefully be able to direct you to a Macmillan nurse, and hopefully, usually through your GP, when you're first diagnosed, you'll get access to a Macmillan nurse.
I think we have to ask about that. Hopefully, if for any reason that doesn't happen,
yes.
What do we do?
So if it doesn't happen, when you go to your hospital, for your hospital appointments, whatever it might be, operations, that kind of thing, speak to the people who within the hospital who you have been directed towards, but also often your hospital will have Macmillan representation, where usually an information or a support centre. The majority of hospitals across the country have Macmillan information and support centres. So if you find that you haven't been yet allocated a Macmillan nurse, if you go along to the support centre, you can speak to someone in person there, and they will know about that particular hospital, how it works, how many Macmillan nurses there are, the availability, other routes into Macmillan. So they will be a really good source for you at the first instance, someone within that support centre, the support centre manager, because the beauty of that is that rather than someone at the other end of the phone at Macmillan who won't know that hospital inside out. That support centre manager at that hospital will know that hospital inside out, so they'll be able to direct you in the right direction. We've got a couple of phone numbers.
And I will put it all in show notes so people can get it there as well. But a quick reminder before Andy reads out the Macmillan itself website and phone number. The Just Giving page is https://www. That's my drum roll. justgiving.com/page/somewhere that's green with hyphens.
Okay, and the Macmillan website, just the main website, is www.macmillan.org.uk, and the support line is 0808 808 0000, and that's open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Andy. For everybody who would like to read the new writing that is created supporting Macmillan Cancer Support, giving.com/page/somewhere-that-green. The writing will happen on October the 18th. It will be put into an anthology the next day. It will go out to everyone who sponsors us on Just Giving on the Monday. So it's 48 hours from creation to publication, and we'd really love to have your support. Andy Gould, on behalf of Macmillan Cancer Support, thank you so much for joining the Writers' Gym.
Absolute pleasure, and thank you for having me.
You've visited the Writers' Gym with author and coach Dr. Rachel Knightley. Production and sound design are by Ashley Lexine, and theme music is by Chris Gregory. To join a Writers' Gym workout online or in London, as a guest or as a member, visit writersgym.com or email thewritersgym@rachelknightley.com.